Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 55. The same words coming from Jin Wang's mouth felt completely different. Jin Wang's voice was very soft, like a small hammer gently pounding on Yeshu's heart. It didn't hurt, but it felt soft and itchy. It was a very strange feeling. That pair of beautiful eyes stared fixedly at him. They were filled with gentleness, but also seemed to carry some kind of cautious hope. It was intentional. Yeshu's heart was beating loudly. It felt like he was stepping on clouds and his head was heavy. He had never been able to stand the dog emperor speaking to him like this before. It was so unfair. Shu Gur, why aren't you replying? Jin Wang obviously knew how to deal with him. His voice was soft and gentle as he urged, hurry up and tell me. Yeshu looked away with difficulty. Don't call me that. Don't call you what? Then how do you want me to call you? Yeshu couldn't bear it any longer. He raised his head and covered those noisy lips with his own. From a light touch to a deep penetration, the two of them were breathing unsteadily in the end. After the kiss, Jin Wang pressed Yeshu against the bed. His eyes darkened slightly. The heat on Yeshu's face didn't even have time to subside before he was dragged into it again. He looked away, not daring to meet the other party's invasive gaze. You clearly know. That's different. Jin Wang held Yeshu's hand and intertwined their fingers. I want to hear it from you directly. Yeshu opened his mouth but couldn't say a single word. There was a moment of silence within the muslin bed curtains. Only the sound of heartbeats of the two could be heard. After a while, Jin Wang sighed, forget it, I won't force you. He rubbed Yeshu's head and said softly, you should eat first, the food will get cold soon. Jin Wang got up from the bed and asked, don't move, I'll help you. His voice came to an abrupt halt. Yeshu suddenly hugged him from behind. Yeshu whispered from behind him, you can't always be like this. Yeshu tightened his arms around Jin Wang's waist and said, how can you be so accommodating? Are you even an emperor? Ashu. Yeshu buried his face in Jin Wang's back and said in a muffled voice, you're right. There are some things that are different when you say them out loud. Even now, I still can't be sure if the things that happen to me and the people around me are real. I never thought that there would be a day like this, and I never thought that I would be so close to someone else. I used to complain about my fate. Why do other people have happy families, parents, and friends but I don't have anyone? Until I came here, until I met you. What have I done to deserve all of this? If one day I wake up and find out that this is just a dream, I don't know what I'll do. Idiot. Jin Wang sighed softly. He placed his palms on Yeshu's hands and clenched them tightly. I know what you're worried about. Recently, I've been thinking about what I'll do if one day I wake up and you're not like you anymore. Yeshu was stunned. Yes, Jin Wang was the same. This person might even be more worried than he was. If that day really came, Jin Wang wouldn't even have the chance to know. Just like 3 years ago, he didn't know that the person beside him had been replaced and he had to experience the sudden alienation and betrayal of the person closest to him. But this person had never told him these things. He hid all of his uneasiness, worry and fear in his heart and had to comfort Yeshu instead. Yeshu's eyes were hot as he said hoarsely, you're the idiot. It's amazing how we traveled through time and space and spent so much effort to be able to be together peacefully. Rather than fear the future, it's better to grasp the present. Yeshu closed his eyes and said softly, I have someone I like. That person is called Jin Wang. Every day I spent with him is the happiest time of my life. I want to grow old with him. Jin Wang's fingers trembled. He turned around and lowered his head to kiss Yeshu's lips. The kiss was very gentle, as if he was afraid of disturbing something, or as if he was suppressing something. Do you agree? Jin Wang's eyes were slightly red and his voice was low and hoarse. To growing old together. Yeshu's eyes were also red. He smiled and kissed him. I'm so afraid of death, I won't dare to deceive you. Afterwards, neither Yeshu nor Jinwang touched the dinner laid on the table. As soon as he finished speaking, he was enveloped by an overwhelming amount of an alpha's pheromones. In the end, he didn't even remember how he left the imperial study. Yeshu sometimes felt that the dog emperor's brain was wired differently from other people. If he was angry, he would resolve it in bed. If he was jealous, he would resolve it in bed. If he was touched, he would resolve it in bed. In short, there was nothing that couldn't be resolved once a day. If there was a chance, he would even do it twice. But, he didn't dislike it. Soon, early spring came. As expected, Jinwang handed the position of supervisor of the spring imperial examinations to Yeshu. Although he was the supervisor of the imperial examinations, he actually didn't have much to do. The examinations were usually handled by the Ministry of Rites. The relevant matters were also handled by the Ministry of Rites and were presented to Yeshu for review. Fearing that he would get tired, Jinwang would sometimes even take a look at the documents in his place. In the end, he just wanted to give Yeshu a nominal title. Jinwang wanted to use this examination as an opportunity to clean up the rebellious officials in the imperial court. The people who were accepted into this year's spring examinations were very likely to become important officials in the imperial court in the future. As the supervisor of the imperial examinations, it was easy to imagine how important Yeshu was to them. Jinwang was delegating power to Yeshu. Yeshu naturally understood Jinwang's intentions and put in even more effort for the spring examinations. On the last day of the spring examinations, Yeshu walked out of the examination courtyard. A servant of the residence hurriedly came up to him. "Young master, something has happened in the palace." Yeshu's expression changed. "What happened?" "Imperial concubine Anbin has been executed by His Majesty." "Yeshu. Yeshu." The servant talked endlessly about the rumors in the palace. It was said that after imperial concubine Anbin entered the palace, he went against his superiors and wreaked havoc in the harem. Recently, it was confirmed that he was a spy sent by West Xia and frequently passed information to West Xia with the intention of rebelling. His Majesty did not have any feelings for imperial concubine Anbin and kept him by his side for the past few months only to find out the truth. Now that he had caught him red-handed, imperial concubine Anbin had been secretly executed. All the details were reasonable and well-founded, so much so that Yeshu almost believed it himself. Yeshu wanted to ask Jinwang why he suddenly wanted to do away with Anbin, but the examination had just ended and there were still many matters waiting for him to deal with. The important matters were more urgent, so he could only return to his residence first. By the time he finished dealing with the matters at hand, Jinwang's imperial edict had also arrived. There were a total of 3 imperial edicts. The first one was about imperial concubine Anbin. It also mentioned about Minister Duanchenzi of Taikang Temple, the one who had presented Anbin. Although he did not know about him being a spy, he was also at fault for not being strict enough and was demoted to be a provincial official. The second edict was that West Xia had repeatedly stirred up trouble in the capital and had even reached into the emperor's harem this time. The emperor had decided to immediately declare war on West Xia. These 2 imperial edicts were as Yeshu had expected. Duanchenzi had always been the most ardent about Jinwang's marriage and had brought along a group of officials to urge him to get married every day. Jinwang had long disliked him. This move was most likely to avenge a personal grudge and to also discourage other officials from urging the emperor to get married. As for West Xia, the 2 countries would go to war sooner or later. Imperial concubine Anbin was just a convenient excuse. As for the third imperial edict, it was the longest. The servant reading the imperial edict became strangely silent. Yeshu looked up and asked, "What's wrong?" The servant carefully said, "This imperial edict is all about young master." Yeshu instinctively felt that something was wrong, but he still maintained his cold and indifferent image of a prime minister. Read it. Although it was called an imperial edict, it was actually more like a love letter. The imperial edict was about the story of the emperor and minister Ye. It said that the two had known each other since childhood and had supported each other until now. It also said that the emperor had actually loved Minister Ye for many years, but Minister Ye only cared about the country and was unwilling to respond. The emperor missed Minister Ye so much that he had no appetite for food or drink. He only hoped that Minister Ye would look highway and fulfill his long-cherished wish. Jin Wang's literary talent was outstanding, and he was not bad at writing such a cringe-worthy article. His unrequited love story, which lasted for more than 10 years, was quite touching. Even the servant's eyes got a little wet as he read it. Yeshu could not bear it any longer. Stop reading it. His ears became slightly red. Thinking about how everyone of note in the capital was reading Jin Wang's love letter, he felt his scalp go numb. He wished he could immediately send people to destroy this thing. What was Jin Wang thinking? At this moment, a servant ran in from outside. "Young master, His Majesty has arrived." Yeshu coldly snorted, "Tell him to get lost." The servant. Even if the servant was given 10,000 guts, he would not dare to say this to the emperor. But Yeshu was currently in a fit of anger and could not be bothered with it. He turned around and walked into the inner chambers. He slammed the door shut and looked up. Jin Wang was sitting in his room and even leisurely pouring a cup of tea for himself. "Yeshu. So what if you know martial arts?" Jin Wang could tell that the prime minister was not in a good mood. He hurriedly went up to him. "Are you angry?" Yeshu gritted his teeth. "What do you think?" "Don't be angry." Jin Wang held his hand and sat down. "You've been too busy these past few days and did not have time to discuss these things." "It's my fault." Jin Wang gently continued. "Don't be angry, okay?" With this coaxing, Yeshu's anger immediately dissipated by more than half. To be honest, he was not really angry. He was just a little embarrassed. It was fine if he said these words behind closed doors, but now, not only did everyone know about it, he even made him look like a scumbag. It's just too much. Listen to my explanation. Jin Wang patiently explained. This imperial edict is just a prelude. In a few days, I will issue another imperial edict to marry you. Marrying you is the fulfillment of my desires for many years. The whole world will be my witness. You and I are not dependent on each other. You also do not need to enter the harem. Jin Wang took Yeshu's hand and said seriously, "From now on, you and I are monarch and his minister, as well as a married couple. We will rule the world together." This was the promise that Jin Wang wanted to give him. End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 56. Yeshu didn't even think about it. It should be said that he never thought that Jin Wang would have such thoughts. Actually, Yeshu didn't really care about these things. For him, it didn't matter whether he was the prime minister or an imperial concubine. As long as he could be with this person, it was enough. But Jin Wang clearly didn't think so. No wonder this person kept asking him about how couples in modern society got along. He had always done his best to give him enough respect and love. Yeshu remained silent. Jin Wang leaned over and asked, "Are you touched?" Yeshu looked away. No. You say it so nicely. If you just wanted to let others know that you love me, why did you have to write it? That make it so corny. Too cringy. I still have a lot of things that I haven't written yet." Jin Wang smiled and said seriously, "Every word in it comes from the bottom of my heart. There's no falsehood in it." Yeshu's ears turned red and he turned his head to ignore him. Jin Wang's voice came from behind him. "Prince Wang and Yeshu have been friends for many years. Although they have deep feelings for each other, the prince's heart is as deep as the sea, but Yeshu don't care about personal relationships. Yeshu. Jin Wang held the copy of the imperial edict and read it unhurriedly. Prince Wang has poured in all his effort, but in the end, he wasn't even spared a glance. Stop reading. Yeshu snatched the edict away. His face was so hot that it was almost burning. Jin Wang smiled and leaned over to kiss Yeshu's lips, but Prince Wang doesn't regret it. His hand slid down Yeshu's cheek and lifted his head so that Yeshu could look directly at him. Jin Wang's smile carried a hint of banter, but his tone was serious and clear. Every word seemed to pound on Yeshu's heart. The prince likes him. As always, this prince have no regrets in this life. Jin Wang's love letter was written with such sincerity that it made one feel emotional and couldn't help but shed a few tears. It turned out that there was indeed love between His Majesty and Minister Ye, but it was only a one-sided love. After that, the arguments in the imperial court suddenly stopped. Not only that, but the story of Jin Wang and Yeshu spread throughout the streets overnight. There were also many street storytellers that appeared like bamboo shoots after the rain. Even the Ye residents had more guests than usual. They were all here to speak up for His Majesty Jin Wang, hoping that Minister Ye would accept His Majesty as soon as possible and that the lovers would be able to get married. In the end, they were all dismissed by Yeshu, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry. At Jin Wang's side, after a certain person's amorous behavior, he gave up and never mentioned this matter again. However, the gossip about the two of them did not stop. Instead, it became more and more intense. Without giving any reason, Jin Wang had been sticking to Yeshu more and more openly recently. If there is nothing else, then court is dismissed. Minister Ye, stay. The young emperor sat on the dragon throne and looked at Yeshu from afar. Feeling the speculative gazes around him, Yeshu's ears burned. He wished that he could dig a hole and bury himself in it. However, Jin Wang was still looking at him without blinking. There was even a hint of pure nervousness and hope in his eyes. Again. And again. This person had become more and more brazen recently. Every day, after court was dismissed, he would ask Yeshu to stay alone. As for why he would stay, Yeshu didn't want to think about it at all. Yeshu met Jin Wang's gaze and calmly said, "This subject has made an appointment with several officials from the Hanlin Academy to discuss the matter of marking the scrolls." Marking the scrolls was proper business. His Majesty had to see the big picture. Jin Wang said, "That's what you said yesterday, too." He was even acting coquettishly now. Yeshu wanted to reply again, but he heard Jin Wang call out calmly, "Official Chang, what exactly is the matter that you Hanlin Academy officials can't make up your minds and insist on discussing it with Minister Ye?" The Hanlin Academy officials who were called out instantly broke out in a cold sweat and hurriedly said, "No, it's nothing important, Your Majesty. It was already properly handled yesterday." "That's good." Jin Wang smiled. Minister Ye's health is not very good. It's not good for him to overwork himself. Do you all understand? All the officials replied, "Yes, Your Majesty." Yeshu. All the officials were afraid that they would get into trouble. As soon as the head steward announced that court was dismissed, they all hurriedly slipped away. Only after escaping from the Hall of Supreme Harmony did everyone reveal a secretive smile. Ever since His Majesty had expressed his feelings for him in the Imperial Edict, not only did the relationship between those two not drift apart, it actually became more and more ambiguous. In front of all the officials, they exchanged flirtatious glances and bantered coquettishly. It made everyone's teeth ache. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that His Majesty was not far from getting what he wanted. The palace doors slowly closed behind Yeshu. Yeshu sighed and walked towards Jin Wang. "I already told you, you can just leave the grading of the papers to someone else." Jin Wang took advantage of the situation and pulled Yeshu over to sit on the dragon throne. "Are you tired?" Yeshu replied, "No." It was already early spring. In the entire imperial court, only Yeshu was still wearing a loose robe. Coupled with his slender figure, it was impossible to tell that he was already 5 months pregnant. Ever since Yeshu had been reinstated, Jinwang had reduced the time of the imperial court meetings to less than the time it took for a stick of incense to burn out. If the time was slightly longer, he would give Yeshu a seat and had him be served tea. He was afraid that Yeshu would tire himself out. He couldn't even bear to order Yeshu around, so how could he let those old fellows from Hanlin Academy call him for meetings every day? Jinwang helped Yeshu massage his shoulders and suddenly said, "Do you want to see those kittens of yours?" Yeshu was startled. He was talking about the kittens that Yeshu had picked up from the backyard of the residence. They hadn't taken them with them when they returned to the palace and had been raising them in the temporary imperial residence. Compared to the dreary depths of the palace, the temporary imperial residence with its beautiful scenery was naturally more suitable for the kittens to live in. When we finish the matters at hand, let's go live in the temporary imperial residence for a few months. Jinwang's palm landed on Yeshu's lower abdomen. He said softly, "We can't always let you tire yourself out. The kittens will get angry." Yeshu was just about to say that he wasn't tired, but when he met Jinwang's gaze, he changed his tune. "All right." There were many people in the capital as many eyes were watching them. It was very inconvenient for them to interact with each other. He wanted to spend time alone with Jinwang. He really wanted to. And he understood that Jinwang felt the same way. Yeshu's heart trembled slightly. His gaze towards Jinwang also softened. Jinwang chuckled. "Why are you suddenly looking at me like that?" Yeshu looked away. "It's nothing." Jinwang didn't say anything. He placed one hand on the armrest of the dragon throne and the other on Yeshu's back. He suddenly asked, "How does it feel to sit here?" Yeshu was startled. It wasn't his first time sitting here. From the high platform above the dragon throne, he could clearly see every corner of the Tahi Palace. If the palace doors weren't closed, he could even see the entire palace from the outside. At beginning, the feeling was exhilarating, but now he felt lonely and secluded. It's lonely at the top. Fortunately, he wasn't sitting here alone. But Jinwang clearly wasn't talking about this. Yeshu saw the mischievous look in the other's eyes and silently moved back. However, he was pressed against the back of the dragon throne. "Jinwang." Yeshu struggled with all his might as the other kissed him. "This is the Tahi Palace. This emperor knows." Jinwang dangerously stroked Yeshu's waist and whispered, "Don't you want to try it once?" Yeshu's movements were slightly sluggish. Actually, it wasn't impossible. While he was hesitating, Jinwang had already unbuckled his belt and smiled as he kissed his eyes. "This emperor knows that you want to." After that day, Jinwang issued an edict to speed up the grading process and quickly held the court examination. The spring examination, which was originally supposed to last 2 months, was shortened to half a month. On the day the results were released, Jinwang announced that he was going to the temporary imperial residence to avoid the summer heat and that all important matters would be dealt with there. As for why he was going to avoid the summer heat in the 3rd month and even brought the Prime Minister along, that was something that couldn't be said. After another half a month, the border was officially at war. The Changlu's army was unstoppable. It was said that when the two armies were fighting, Changlu suddenly took out a new type of firearm that had never been heard of before and completely defeated West Xia. After receiving this report, Yeshu looked up and smiled at Jinwang. He continued to lean against the couch and stroke his cat. According to the book, this type of firearm would only be produced in the later part of the novel. Now that Yeshu was here, the progress was naturally much faster. In a short 3 months, West Xia's military power had been completely wiped out. Yeshu's due date was also fast approaching. Jinwang didn't even bother with government affairs and spent all his time with Yeshu. He even moved the entire Imperial Academy of Medicine to the temporary imperial residence. Inside and outside, everything was prepared and ready. On the other hand, Yeshu wasn't very nervous. This little cub didn't make him suffer too much, but anyone with a cub in their belly would still find things uncomfortable. Furthermore, he had to avoid certain foods and couldn't do this or that. In a way, it was restricting Yeshu's life. As a result, he didn't even care about being nervous. He just wanted to quickly unload this good. Late at night, Jinwang had just returned from his bath when he heard Yeshu hugging his stomach and muttering, "Why haven't you come out yet? There's food, drinks, and fun things outside. What's so good about staying inside? Be good, all right. I'll give you another 5 days, no, 3 days. Hurry up and come out." Jinwang. Was this something negotiable? Jinwang lightly knocked his forehead and said, "Don't let your imagination run wild. Go to sleep." He turned off the lights and went to bed. Yeshu easily snuggled into Jinwang's embrace. It was already midsummer, but the temporary imperial residence was still cool. Even with the two of them stuck together, they didn't feel hot. Jinwang patted Yeshu's back casually. The latter was quiet for a while, then suddenly asked, "You still can't sleep?" For the past half a month, Jinwang hadn't slept well for more than a few days. Yeshu said, "Didn't the imperial physician say that the Omega's physique is suitable for giving birth? The risk isn't great and I won't suffer much." "I know." Jinwang said, "I'm just a little nervous." Yeshu rubbed against Jinwang's chest. "What's there to be nervous about? Even I'm not afraid." You're very brave." Yeshu was silent for a while, then said softly, "Actually, I'm also a little scared." He paused, then said, "That's why, when the child is born, you have to reward me well. You have to let me eat whatever I want." Jinwang replied, "I will. You can eat whatever you want. I'll go learn to cook them. Then I'll have to think of what to ask." Before Yeshu could think of anything, there was suddenly a voice outside the door. "Your Majesty, there's news from the front lines." The two of them were startled. Yeshu's due date was approaching, and with Jinwang's instructions, no one dared to disturb their rest in the middle of the night. "Unless," Jinwang said, "bring it up." The guard presented the report. Jinwang opened the report and read it. A rare look of satisfaction appeared in his eyes. The front lines had won one battle after another, and the Changlu army had already reached the capital of West Xia. West Xia's supplies were cut off and they were isolated and without help. It wouldn't be long before they were completely defeated. It would take at least 5 to 6 days for the military news to reach the capital. In other words, West Xia might have already been conquered at this time. It hadn't even been 4 months since the start of the war. The guard who delivered the letter shouted, "Congratulations, Your Majesty." Yeshu didn't see the contents of the letter, but he could roughly guess it from the reactions of the guard and Jinwang. West Xia wasn't strong enough, and in Great Yan, they had Yu Yan's internal support. It was only a matter of time before they unified the world. Jinwang put down the report and looked back at Yeshu. Yeshu smiled at him. "Aren't you going to thank me for my contributions?" "Thank you." Jinwang lowered his head and kissed him. "Prime Minister, how do you want me to reward you? Do you want me to marry you?" Yeshu was about to answer when he suddenly frowned. It seemed, he felt a little pain. The pain in his stomach was getting more and more pronounced. Yeshu hugged his stomach, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. It came at the right time. This puppy really knew how to join in the fun. End chapter. Marked by a tyrant after transmigrating. Chapter 57. Jinwang had already arranged everything. The imperial bodyguards hurriedly ran out to call for an imperial physician. Jinwang helped Yeshu to lie down. The slight pain quickly turned into waves of intense pain. Yeshu couldn't even speak as his forehead was covered in layers of cold sweat. Footsteps could be heard outside the door as everyone hurriedly brought hot water and utensils into the room. A slightly younger imperial physician came forward. Your Majesty, as the Emperor, it is not appropriate for your Highness to stay in the delivery room. Before he could finish, Jin Wang interrupted him. This Emperor will stay here to accompany him. But Jin Wang's cold gaze swept over him. Do you not understand? The imperial physician was so frightened by his glare that he broke out in a cold sweat. He shrank his head and left. Imperial physician Feng placed the medicine box beside the bed and shook his head. He was still too young. Yeshu gradually got used to the pain. He hooked Jin Wang's finger and joked, "You are so fierce." Jin Wang lowered his eyes, which were faintly red. He softly asked, "Then are you afraid of me?" "I have not been afraid for a long time." Yeshu tilted his head to look at him. His voice was weak, but he was still in good spirits. His Majesty is silly and not scary at all. Don't be afraid. Jin Wang held his hand in his but did not dare to use any strength. It was as if he was afraid of hurting him. Zhen will stay here with you. Okay. Delivery for an Omega was not difficult. Yeshu's body was also well taken care of, so the entire process went very smoothly. Before the sky was completely bright, the sound of a baby crying could be heard in the room. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Congratulations, Minister Yet. It's a little prince. Imperial physician Feng said loudly. The atmosphere around them was very warm. Waves of joy and congratulations rose and fell, but Jin Wang only gently wiped the sweat from Yeshu's forehead. He did not even look away. No matter how smooth the delivery was, Yeshu could not avoid some suffering. He lay weakly on the bed. His face was pale. The little flesh that he had gained over the past few days seemed to have all fallen away overnight. He looked extremely haggard. Jin Wang's heart ached terribly. He did not know how many times he regretted it this night. If he had known this would happen, he would not have let him keep the child. Imperial physician Feng understood these two people the best. He quickly dismissed the servants in the delivery room and had someone carry the child away. Yeshu fell asleep after the child was born. Jin Wang asked Imperial physician Feng many times and confirmed that Yeshu was just too tired and sleepy, so he fell asleep. There was nothing serious. Yeshu slept very soundly. When he woke up again, it was almost afternoon. When he opened his eyes, he felt that he was lying in a warm embrace. "Are you awake?" The man's muffled voice came from above his head. "Are you hungry? Or would you like to sleep a little longer?" Yeshu looked up to the person beside him. Jin Wang looked tired. It was obvious that he hadn't rested for a long time. The last time he saw him like this was when Yeshu left without saying goodbye and was mistakenly sent back to the palace as a beauty offering. Yeshu asked softly, "You're the one who looks tired." "I'm not tired." Jin Wang smiled and said, "Eat something before you sleep again." Yeshu replied, "All right." Just as he finished speaking, there was a soft sound from his stomach. Jin Wang smiled and immediately ordered someone to bring food in. He took the bowl of porridge from a palace maid and personally fed it to Yeshu. The porridge was finely polished and some chicken soup was added to make it fragrant and delicious. Yeshu drank a mouthful and looked up at him. "You didn't make it." "It was so delicious. Just one taste and I knew it was made by the imperial chef." Jin Wang was silent for a moment, then said, "I wanted to make it. Imperial physician Feng did not allow me to. He said that your body is still weak and told me not to keep tormenting you." Jin Wang put down the bowl of porridge. He did not look too happy as he asked, "Is my culinary skills that bad?" Yeshu laughed out loud. Jin Wang gave him a sidelong glance. Yeshu quickly stopped laughing. Jin Wang fed Yeshu spoonful by spoonful of porridge. After he finished, he helped him wipe his lips and asked softly, "Do you still want to sleep?" Yeshu shook his head. He had been asleep the whole day and was not sleepy anymore. Jin Wang said, "Then shall I hug you and lie down for a while?" Yeshu felt like he had forgotten something but he could not recall it. He nodded, all right. Jin Wang was just about to lie down on the bed when footsteps came from outside the hall. It was head steward Gao Jin. Your Majesty. When Jin Wang saw him, he showed a hint of displeasure. What is it now? Gao Jin was silent for a moment. His Majesty had ordered that other than the imperial physicians, no one was allowed to disturb Minister Ye's rest. If it was any other day, he would definitely not dare to disturb these two people, but... Head steward Gao Jin braced himself and said, the little prince has been crying non-stop since he woke up. His wet nurse said that he might be missing his father. Does your Majesty want the servant to bring the little prince over? Jin Wang. Yeshu. He finally remembered what he had forgotten. He had not seen his own child yet. There was probably no father in the world who was more clueless than the two of them. Jin Wang and Yeshu looked at each other. Their expressions were blank for a moment. However, Jin Wang was indeed the emperor. He remained calm and indifferent as he nodded, bring the child over. Not long after, the sound of a baby crying could be heard from outside the hall. Jin Wang got up and looked over. The little ball was wrapped in swaddling clothes and was still crying. No matter how he was coaxed, he would not stop crying. Jin Wang took the child from his wet nurse's arms and awkwardly carried him over to Yeshu. Yeshu saw his unfamiliar movements and mocked, how clumsy. Jin Wang did not mind and sat down by the bed. The child looks like you. The newborn child had not opened his eyes yet. His skin was a little red and wrinkled. He did not look very good. Yeshu did not comment on Jin Wang's words. He raised his hand and poked the child's soft face, saying with disdain, ugly like me. Jin Wang. Cough. The child, huh? The little child frowned and looked like he was about to cry again. Jin Wang hurriedly said, you're not ugly. Father was lying to you. Yeshu smiled and sat up, I want to carry him. Jin Wang placed the child in his arms. The swaddling clothes were very small. Yeshu could completely wrap one arm around him. Yeshu had never experienced something like this before. The soft and small child lay in his arms. As if sensing a familiar scent, he stopped crying and snuggled into his arms. Yeshu's movements stiffened. He did not even know where to put his hands. This little life that he and Jin Wang had created was now lying in his arms. This was all real. Yeshu suddenly felt that the unreal feeling that had been lingering in his heart all this time seemed to have disappeared. Yeshu raised his head. Jin Wang also happened to be looking at him. There was something extremely soft in their eyes. Yeshu lowered his eyes and said softly, he's so small. Yes. Jin Wang lowered his head and kissed his forehead, Ashu, this is our child. The next day, Jin Wang issued an imperial edict, announcing the existence of the little prince to the public. Recently, the emperor had been issuing too many imperial edicts, and each time, it was earth-shattering news. This made the officials almost immune to it. This time though they could not make a fuss like last time. Otherwise, they would appear too immature. As everyone thought this, they picked up the imperial edict and began to read it. Then, they were so shocked by the news that several of them fell to the ground. WHWWW what? Where did this prince come from? Who gave birth to him? Oh, the imperial edict said that it was Minister Ye. Minister Ye? The last time Minister Ye had appeared was after the court examinations. He and the emperor had announced the new top scorer of the spring imperial examinations. At that time, Minister Ye was wearing a cloak from early spring. His body was completely covered. No one could see any clues, and no one would think that way. Counting the days, Minister Ye was probably 5 months pregnant at that time. Calculating further back, didn't that mean that it was when Minister Ye was pretending to be the imperial consort that the two of them? The expressions on the faces of all the officials instantly became very interesting. So that imperial edict was not to confess to Yes Yang but to show off in front of them. His Majesty really knew how to play. No matter what the outside world guessed, it did not affect the two people in the temporary imperial residence. This was the first time the two fathers had raised a child, so they did not have any experience. Fortunately, the palace had everything from wet nurses to clothing and food, so they did not need to worry about it. Yeshu's body recovered very quickly. Every day, he would stretch out his hand and open his mouth to eat. When he had nothing to do, he would play with the baby. His days were very leisurely. Jinwang could not afford to be leisurely, though. A few days after the baby was born, there was news of victory from the front lines. West Xia finally could not withstand the attacks of the Changlu army. They opened their city gates and bowed to Changlu. West Xia willingly ceded land and sent hostages with countless treasures and jade artifacts. They would soon set off for Changlu. At this point, the war had finally come to an end. With the previous backlog of work and the current post-war matters, Jinwang was so busy that he almost could not breathe. Yeshu pointed at Jinwang, who was sitting in front of the desk dealing with work, and said sincerely to the baby, "Look, this is your future." A newborn child would look different almost every day. The little baby was a bit bigger than when he was born. He was pink and tender, and his eyes were big and bright. The more one looked at him, the more he resembled Jinwang. Upon hearing Yeshu's words, Jinwang looked up from the memorial and said, "What nonsense are you talking about now? I'm not." Yeshu knelt on the bed and hugged the little baby who did not know how to crawl yet. The two of them turned their heads at the same time and looked at Jinwang with the same bright eyes. "Am I wrong?" Yeshu raised his eyebrows. "Or are you saying that you don't want our son to be the emperor?" Jinwang was speechless. Yeshu played with his child's small hands and deliberately sighed, "Poor Xiao Yechi. You're clearly the eldest son, but imperial father doesn't want you to be the heir apparent. In the future, won't you have to fight for the throne with the second prince, third prince, and fourth prince? What will you do?" Jinwang. The child's official name could only be decided when he was 1 month old. Right now, he only had the name Little Milk. Yeshu originally wanted to call him Xiao Wang, which would correspond to his imperial father's name, but Jinwang firmly refused. Jinwang took a deep breath and said calmly, "The second prince, the third prince, the fourth prince, so Minister Ye thinks that one is not enough." Jinwang smiled at him and said warmly, "If you want more children, just say it. This emperor will naturally accommodate you." Yeshu angrily glared at him and grabbed the child's 2 lotus-like arms. The child cooperated and made a face at Jinwang. Jinwang. What was this guy teaching their baby all day? The two of them began to giggle. Jinwang also couldn't help but laugh. These two had the same personality. It would be more accurate to say that he was a little copy of Yeshu. After Jinwang finished dealing with the matters at hand, he looked up and saw that the father and son had already fallen asleep on the bed. The two heads, one big and one small, were pressed together. They looked very peaceful and cute. Jinwang walked over to the bed. The child suddenly opened his eyes and whimpered. He reached out his chubby little hand towards Jinwang. "Shh." Jinwang reached out and let the child grab his finger. The child laughed but obediently stopped making any more noise. Jinwang lay down on the bed and pulled the child and his father into his arms. Yeshu was a light sleeper. He rubbed against Jinwang's chest and asked, "Have you finished dealing with government affairs?" Yeshu was so sleepy that he couldn't even open his eyes. He said softly, "You've worked hard." Jinwang kissed his face. "Sleep a little longer." Yeshu grunted but didn't say anything else. The afternoon sun was bright but not strong. Jinwang kissed the foreheads of the two in his arms. He closed his eyes and quickly fell asleep, too. End chapter.